Are you curious to know how to know if you have herpes? Well, we're talking about that today on my channel. I'm Dr. Perkins, a board-certified OBGYN, and we have conversations just like these on my channel. Welcome, and let's dive in. By the end of this video, you'll have a better understanding of herpes and the different versions there are, how to self-diagnose if you have a herpes infection, and we'll talk about the different types of testing that can be done in the doctor's office to let you know if you have a herpes infection. So let's start by talking about what is herpes. Now, I've done a previous video on herpes that you can check out as well, but we're going to talk about all of that information just about today as well. Herpes is called medically the herpes simplex virus. You may hear HSV for short, so that we're not saying herpes simplex virus all the time. And so just know that they're just the same and remember what that is so that we're not confusing that with other infections like HPV and others that just kind of sound very similar. But the S is for herpes simplex virus. Now, there are more than 100 different types of herpes viruses. There are a lot. About 8 of those really routinely infect human beings, right? So we hear of them as HSV1, HSV2, varicella zoster virus, cytomegalovirus, Epstein-Barr virus, human herpes virus 6 and 7, as well as Kaposi sarcoma or herpes virus number 8. Now, herpes is often in the category of being sexually transmitted, but that is not quite true. And that is because a lot of people will actually get herpes in their childhood days or even as an infant, and they have not been sexually molested or traumatized in any way. It can just be passed on from person to person in non-sexual ways. 50 to 80% of Americans have HSV1 or the oral version of herpes. Now, know that everyone who has herpes may not have symptoms. In fact, most people have never had an outbreak. They've not had a canker sore, a cold sore. They've not had any sores on their bodies. And unless testing specifically is being done in their system, they will not know that they have this infection as a part of them. Genital herpes is usually linked with HSV number 2. And with this infection, the genitals in any form can be infected. So this could be on the penis, on the vagina, it could be on the vulva, it could be internally inside of the vagina, by the cervix. It can even be on your skin, on your mons pubis, on your anus, on your buttocks. It can really be anywhere. Sometimes a very small few people with herpes may also get the infection on their abdomen or on their arms or legs somewhere else. So know that this virus can really infect anywhere. A very, very small portion of people, oftentimes in a very immunocompromised state, meaning that they are sick or not very strong immunity-wise, they can get herpes that can affect other parts of their minds and their brains as well. Every year, there are more than 500,000 new HSV2 genital infections between the ages of 14 and 49. So this infection really still is prominent in our community, and it's important that we know more about it. Now, if you're enjoying what we're talking about today, go ahead, like this video, share with others, and comment below. I'd love to know what your experience has been, if any, with HSV. So what are the symptoms of HSV? Okay, so the first thing is that we may not have any symptoms at all because a majority of people who are infected with herpes do not know and have never had symptoms. For those who may have herpes outbreaks of any kind, whether it's orally or genitally, you may notice that before anything appears on your skin or on your lips, you may have a very tingly or painful sensation in the area that those blisters may erupt. And so with that, if you've never had an outbreak, you really won't know that something is going on until the blisters appear. But that feeling usually precedes the eruption of these blisters on your skin. Now, those are called prodromal symptoms. People who get recurrent infections or recurrent outbreaks from herpes kind of get used to knowing that these symptoms are going to occur or know when an outbreak is happening because they got used to associating those feelings with what actually happens in an outbreak. But understand that if this is your very first primary outbreak, you may not have any clue that this is what is happening underneath your skin or in that area. Now, there are different stages of ulcers with herpes. And so once the skin starts to break out, a bubble often happens in that area. And when that bubble occurs, it will essentially be like a blister. Some people may confuse this with just having a bump in the area. And this blister may last a day or two. Eventually, the blister will pop open. Inside of this blister will be fluid, a fluid collection that will then leak out. That fluid collection has a lot more virus content in it and can actually cause that infection to spread within your system. This is a part of the way that you can actually transmit herpes from one person to another. After this blister has popped, then an ulcer forms in the area of the skin. So if you're looking at this, it looks like it's not normal skin and that there's almost like an indentation in the skin area. After this phase, the ulcer will heal and the skin might be a little bit discolored for some time, and then the skin will be replaced with normal skin. Now, for the untrained eye, again, this might be difficult to recognize. Also, genitally, a lot of people are not necessarily looking down below to know whether or not there is a bump that could be like a hair bump or a blister that could be herpes. So I would recommend that you take a mirror and you look beneath, open up your vulva if you are a female, take a look at the area that's irritated or the area that has pain or the area that you're feeling a bump or something that's different. In a male, the same. Grab a mirror and look by the scrotum, look by the penis, up and down, check all around, and wherever you feel irritation or a bump, kind of take that mirror and light if you need it, and really kind of take a look on the inside. Listen, it is okay to take a picture of whatever is down there as well, because sometimes you can't necessarily see it with the naked eye and with the mirror, but take a picture or have someone else take a picture so that you can take a look. Whenever there's any problem down there, whether female or male, be sure to get to the doctors so they can do a better investigation. There are different ways that your doctors may check for herpes. One may be by a blood test, and it's pretty easy because anyone can get this blood test at any time. Secondly, if you have an infection or an ulcer or a blister, your doctor can take a swab or a sample of that infected area and send it off to the lab to know if this is herpes or not. Now, one thing that I'll note here is that if you get the blood test done for HSV1 and HSV2, know that the infection cannot be timed based on a blood test. So you could have gotten this infection when you were a child, when you were a teenager, when you were a young adult or an older adult, and the infection will still be shown in your blood. There's no way for us to trace when you got that infection. Now, if you're getting an outbreak on your skin for the very first time, it is much easier for us to understand how long ago you were exposed or when that infection occurred. I hope this information was helpful to you today. If you have a comment, go ahead and drop it below. But I really want to invite you to my website, where I have a free hormone book on balancing hormones in your body, and I'd love to offer that to you today. Go ahead and click that link below. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure talking about this topic and many more here. Join me next time for more conversations. Thank you.